Lions fans, the city of Detroit. When we were 0-16, you never stopped showing up. You were disappointed, but you never stopped showing up. Every week you showed up. And this motivated me to do the same thing for you. I want you to know, Michigan is our home, Detroit is our city, and Lions fans are our pride. Because I left it all on the field and enjoyed every moment.
Lions now sit dead last in the NFC North through 3 weeks. Again, don't freak out. I don't think this season is over by any means, and the hope is absolutely not lost for this. So a lot to unravel here, a lot to get into Lions talk. I think there's a lot of positives that we could get into about this game, but I think unfortunately this is going to be driven a lot by the negatives.
Yeah, just hard to even fathom. No, I mean, I can fathom words, but the feeling we're all too used to, and you get numb to it, unfortunately, if you're us. So I hate to say it feels like another Sunday, another Lions loss, but yeah, there was some good in this game, which we'll get to, but a lot of questionable decisions and another poor result, putting us at the bottom of our division where we should not be, given the way we played the first 3 games.
Horrible. That's the worst part, seeing that and where the Bears are.
Yeah, it's hard to look at and not be nauseous.
It's so bad. So, Andrew, talk me into thinking that the Lions actually did something right yesterday, even though we got the loss. I mean, a lot to I think a lot of good about the first half. So I mean, give me a nice express version of what you saw in the first half, first quarter, whatever you want to go over first, and just give me a little positive before we start bashing.
Yeah, I mean, I think even though the score was tied at the half, I feel like everyone took away a lot of positives from it. Jared Goff, I feel like, was playing some really good football. Feels like every piece, I mean, Jeff Okudah to start there also, holding Jefferson, not just the first half, but the whole game to only a handful of catches. I feel like we were in full control of the game. Maybe slipped up a little bit towards the second half. Obviously, they scored 2 more touchdowns. They tied it up. But the couple drives to start, like Jamal Williams getting the touchdown, it felt like the change that we needed going into Minnesota. Like, is this when we're going to beat them, get to 2-1 and stuff like that? Those thoughts go through your head. But I mean, I love seeing us just drive the ball down the field. Everything seemed to be working, even if Swift was not 100%. And clearly that's going to be something he's bothered by for the next couple of weeks. But no, I mean, the offense looked great and the defense was holding their own to start the game. So definitely was a positive for, at least 15 to 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah, average scoring game. Finally, we're still sitting in 90 plus points for 90 plus points given up. So just again, I don't know if that's, we are holding our own, and I think we're like a net +2 positive right now. So, but yeah, first drive, we come out the gate and we move the ball up the field. I thought we actually had a really nice possession, honestly, up until those last 2 plays before the field goal, right? So, I mean, you had a little, sort of a swing play to Swift that was set up to fail, lost some yards, and then third down, we failed to convert. Very, very short play, and, ultimately, Seibert, hops on the field and shanks one right. So, I mean, the kicking woes began right off the bat. Fortunately, Vikings came back and, matched us with the same outcome. So a lot of ups and downs, honestly, in the first possession for each team. But, again, fourth down conversions for us has been gold. It has been perfect for us for the most part. I do appreciate the aggressiveness that we kept going against them in the first half, especially because we were able to capitalize on those things. And ultimately, again, that same Brown play from 4th and 5, got it down to the 1. Would have been incredible if he actually was able to hop over him and reach over the pylon, and then Jamal punched it in, right? So we had a 7-0 game. So Matt, what do you think of just about Jamal picking up the slack right now with potential Swift absence over the next 2 weeks? I mean, the guy 15 plus carries yesterday, 80 yards on the ground, few catches and 2 touchdowns. I mean, how big has he been for us?
He's just top to bottom instrumental. And I mean, he doesn't have the vision that DeAndre has, right? Or the speed.
A little more straight runner, yeah.
Right, exactly. He's more north and south. But yeah, what more can you ask for from your number 2? 4.5 yards to carry, running hard, 2 TDs. Great first half for him, set the tone, and it opened up the entire playbook for Jared Goff as we see going into quarter number 2. But it's great first half, and I've been loving what we've been getting out of Jamal, from his leadership to his dancing to his touchdown scoring ability. So
Yeah, and even though I feel like he's going to have that increased workload going forward if Swift is out, I still feel like he's better off in the role that he's currently in. Maybe you see a little bit of an increased workload, but can we get Reynolds or Justin Jackson into that Swift type role, whether it's catching passes, be on the early downs? I feel like that's something that I'm really curious to see going forward. Are they really going to make him a bell cow, or let him do what he does best and try to get one of those other guys in there in the Swift role? I'm curious to see how that plays out, because I don't want to run him down into the ground where he has nothing left at the end of the season, or we're really trying to force his role on the team. So hopefully we don't use him too much. I want to make sure he's fresh throughout the season.
It's Craig Reynolds' time now, I think, too. He's got to step up. So
he does, and this is nothing new for the Lions. It's next man up in a way. And again, nothing's certain right now about what this injury is. But hearing a shoulder sprain injury, Swift's knee even got. I saw an item on it that ankle re-injured. I think I actually caught the play watching tape before we hopped on here. I think I actually saw the play that sort of did that in the third quarter. And then even just after that play, when he was out there, he didn't look right. If you actually really zoned in on some of his plays where he was just hopping out of the backfield, very weak first step, just acted as a smoke screen, it looked like. So really hope therapy can be good this week, and hopefully get him right in rehab to make sure this as quick as possible. Because again, these are 2 very winnable games now coming up. I would hate to lose him now for an extended amount of time. Thankfully, that bye week comes at a good time just to sort of heal up. But not to fast forward into that, I think just so much happened in this game. For me personally, super frustrated. I mean, I think we were winning 99% of that game, and it should have been ours. I don't even want to look at the win probability chart, because I probably just get more mad if I did, because I'm finally, I think, down or coming back up from that low. So, I mean, some other things that really stood out for me was just execution, and while moving the ball. 3rd down, we were horrible in. 3rd and 16, 3 for 16, sorry. So fourth downs really bailed us out. But again, I think Goff is just a talking point right now, because he's playing some good football right now, and he's doing more than we probably originally have asked for him to start a year. Middle of the pack in a lot of averages, 7 touchdowns on the year. Can't complain about that for 3 games and only 2 picks. So Andrew, I mean, how important is Goff's leadership and just consistency now going into these next 2 games? Especially after an act like that.
I think it's so important. It's integral to what we're trying to do. If we don't have confidence in Goff, then we're not going anywhere. And I think hopefully the way the game ended yesterday, maybe that changes the coaching staff's minds on how we look forward into finishing drives, finishing games, maybe trust them a little bit more to get the job done. Going forward on, 6 4th down attempts we had, converting on 2/3 of them, something like that. I think that shows the confidence that they have in him. But I think obviously the way the game ended, it's something that maybe it'll be changed going forward. But yeah, I mean, I feel like when he was spitting out of the pocket, whenever I see that, I'm like, all right, something's going to go wrong here. And he was completing passes, not making mistakes. The only interception he had was the final pass of the game, and you can't really blame him for that.
I give him no
Um,
blame for that.
Right. It's just it's in the stat sheet, but nothing else. So I mean, I feel like what everyone's been trying to see from Jared Goff over the last year plus has been, is he going to take the next step? Is he the guy for the future? And I feel like even if he's not a Patrick Mahomes type of quarterback, he's done a lot in the last 3 games to show that, maybe we do have him for more than, 1 season, 2 seasons, then we're moving on. I like what I've seen so far, and I hope it just continues.
One thing that's really caught my eye over the last 2 games is I think there's just another level of toughness for him, and the pocket at times has sort of collapsed and crumbled, and he's not going down like he did last year. He sort of just went in a fetal position last year and was sort of afraid to take that hit. He's acting as a bruiser right now. He's actually swiping off some defenders, rolling out. I mean, we got 2 fourth down plays because of him yesterday. He was able to roll out. He, threw off of his left foot on the run. And I mean, like, he actually threw like 2 perfect passes. They were short, but they did the job right. So, I mean, he's not giving up on plays. He's commanding this offense, and again, I mean, for the fact that we have just under 100 points in 3 weeks, it's a lot of credit to him. A lot of credit to him, and he's been able to really flex this offense a little bit by making it creative. Play action's been acting real nice this year. The run game has been just on fire, and it's honestly, again, something we were talking about heavily last week. We can't stop the run game right now. We can't take that out of our playbook because it's just doing so well. And I mean, Jamal, I think, is due now for another good game. Seahawks definitely not a team known for their defense right now. I think, again, just overall offense had another great showing yesterday. And there's a lot of trust now going into this team again for the next week. And we're home. A little more energy.
And just to go back on your Goff point too, like last year when he was making those plays, rolling out, trying to extend it, you were kind of hoping that, let's hope something doesn't go wrong here. And now he's making those passes, getting the first downs. Mm-hmm. It's like, what can he do? How can he extend the play? And we're still confident. So like you said, we're getting more confident with him each game, and just looking forward to continuing to improve.
Yeah, I would say too, like, even, the first game we were sort of bashing him because he threw like 4 balls over, Hawk's head. But, like, he's improved tremendously every game so far. So I'm happy, at least with where we're at for 3 games for him.
100%. So
first half overall, I would say strong football performance, right? Good showing. Outside of blowing a 14-0 lead. But, you got to, expected we gave up, some points in the second quarter. Penalties, right? Something that, hurt us a few times today, allowed the Vikings yesterday, allowed the drives to continue a little bit. Thielen was able to get a touchdown because of that. It's something that we have not done too well on this year. Penalties, it's been a little costly, and Cook sort of ran us over. Madison had a good game as well. I think you can say that they sort of own our defense right now. Matt, what's something that's I guess sort of like a really eyesore right now in terms of the defense? I mean, especially with the Tracy Walker injury in secondary, definitely going to hurt us long term now. But like, what's your actual evaluation now on this defensive line yesterday? I mean, I just didn't think we really gave enough pressure at all. Kirk just made mistakes on his own.
I think you're exactly right. I think it was more Kirk making poor decisions and not getting the job done more so than us getting the pressure and getting the coverage we need. Jeff Okudah notwithstanding, but like Amani recently has just not been what we need Amani to be, man. And you can see it. The day Thielen had yesterday, or it's just last year's Amani would have not had nearly as much of a problem with Thielen than the Amani we saw yesterday. It was it's honestly kind of concerning because now Melanfanu's out and we're light back there now. It's not like Jerry Jacobs isn't there, and now it's like who's up, who's playing corner. If Amani's looking like this behind Jeff, who's been lights out, like literally lights the F out.
Can't
But,
say
like,
a bad thing about him.
not at all. He's been terrific, but like you need that number 2 to kind of bookend you. It's really concerning, really concerning. But we got to get healthy. One, and that bye, if we can get that win, Seattle and then New England, and get on that bye and get healthy for the best, because we need it in the worst way at a few positions. But secondary play has been more so concerning now than the linebacker play, I think. Would you guys disagree, given how well Malcolm and Anzalone had played comparatively so to how Amani and our backup corners have played? And now Tracy being hurt.
Huge. And
terrible.
Anzalone was top-ranked defense PFF yesterday. Nice sack, chased some guys down, on those drag routes. He did well. And, Amani just, even on that 4th and 8 conversion that the Vikings tried to pull off, I thought that was pass interference again.
Yeah, I
and
did too.
Thielen freaked out. He absolutely bugged out. And, I mean, again, the way that, he was playing and eating him up that whole game, I'm sure he was right. I'm sure that could have been a thing, and who knows what could have happened from there. I mean, we lost, so I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. But that's concerning to have near, it was 4 or 5 or 6 penalties that were serious, holding, pass interference, anything like. Just watching the replay in slow motion, holding, grabbing the second he left the line, like didn't even try and compete. It's like he was accepting defeat before he even started his motion, or like his play, his route from the receiving end. So very concerning overall. But I mean, on the flip side, does it almost offset for how well Jeff is playing? I don't know if it's a perfect wash, but I mean, the way this guy has been balling for these first 3 games with Devonta Smith, especially with the game that he had yesterday. So you know that there's nothing wrong with him. And then Scary Terry, and then just with Justin Jefferson, I mean, who's a dog. And the performance he gave yesterday, at least not being on full game, but for the times they were matched up, you got to love those numbers. So, yeah, a lot to talk highly on, but a lot to talk negatively on. So fast forward now into the second half, we, tie game, we come out gunning. We score on a field goal, right? Go for it on 4th down, another conversion. So, that's obviously clicking. And then, Seibert actually nails the field goal, right? So we're up 17-14. Vikings, their kicker, again, just shanked another field goal. So, I mean, we were getting opportunities to really blow this game open.
Multiple opportunities. We had
multiple.
The 20. I think I texted you guys at 24-14, and I was like, guys, this is the drive where years past we have never put it away,
and we missed chances in the first half.
Right, and missed the field goal. I'm like that one drive. I was like, this is 24-14. We got the ball around midfield. We get a stop. I'm like, this is it. Like this, if you get a score here, you put a stranglehold in this game. Just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk he had a mix of a few bad drops from his receivers, and then just not able to be accurate at all yesterday. And I mean, he was sort of just stemming off of that horrible Monday Night Football performance. But we had so many opportunities to just stretch that lead out, and we. I mean, I can't complain because we shut them out on defense, but we only got 10. So I mean, take what you can get. And a point I made yesterday was yes, we could have went for some field goals when we were being aggressive. And again, it's not a knock on Goff, but he's not tier 1 yet. He's far from that. And if you can take points in a 2 possession game, you have to take the points. We are not the Bucks. We are not I will even say the Packers, because of how easy they can score at times. We can't snap our fingers and get points no matter whenever we want,
No, you can't. And when Cook goes down there, it's 24-14, and you get the ball at midfield. You're at the 50.
Mhm.
I feel like Dan Campbell's got to and Ben got to pull these guys aside. Like, yo, listen, pull them aside and really fire them up and like, yo, this is the time where we have to put the foot on the throat and kill them now. Like, this is it. We get a score here at, like, you go up 3 scores. That's a backbreaking scenario for them.
I
Considering
bet
how
he said that too. I
he
bet
may
he
or
did.
he may have.
Yeah.
Given the character he is, I can see that. But like, you're at the 50 and you're up 10, and Cook is out. Momentum is clearly in your favor. You gotta get points. There's just no excuse.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what last week against the Commanders we did. They started inching back in it, and then we put the foot back on the gas, extended the lead again, and it was never at the point where this is the game that's going to be out of reach like it always is for us, or they always get back into it like it always happens to us. And yesterday just wasn't the case. Kind of went back to the norm for us, everything that we're used to, and that's just something that needs to change. Because if we continue to not finish off drives, not put points up, then this is what's going to happen every time. And to go back to your point on the 4th downs and everything, maybe obviously Seibert didn't have it from the start. Maybe that's something that when you see that as a head coach, you think we don't want to give him another opportunity. Maybe that
No.
kind of factored into the
And you know what
decision there.
everyone said today? You know what? Sorry to cut you off. He's hurt. And he went out there in the 4th quarter. Anyway, we'll talk about that in 3 minutes. Continue.
No, I mean, that's all I got. If you don't have the confidence of your head coach when you're going out to kick, then it's definitely going to impact the decisions for the rest of the game. Whether he wasn't feeling well, he was hurt, or he just didn't have it for the day. I don't think it really makes a difference, but that could definitely impact your decision making, and I think that could be one of the reasons we lost. But it is what it is.
The priority and the trust since the first play of the game was they want the ball in Goff's hands. And they were doing that in the 1st quarter, the 2nd quarter, and the 3rd quarter, which leads to the explosion that we're now about to get into of Detroit Lions 4th quarter. Closeout games, something that we struggle so greatly in at times. So we start the 4th quarter up 24-14, right? We're up 10 points. And the Vikings' first drive, they punt to us, right? So we had decent field position, and Swift is still on the field. He's not doing much. And now it's 3rd and 1. It's 3rd and 1 on whatever, like the R40. Barely chewed up any clock in those first 3 plays. And here's my first questionable play. Whoever can take it. Why on 3rd and 1 do we airmail it to Josh Reynolds? Granted, he had a fantastic game. 6 for 96. Incredible game. He's on my hot list right now for just, outperforming himself. But with what we were doing all game, what was working, what they weren't stopping, looking at their defensive set, where they were on that play. No audible, nothing. No changeup, nothing short. Someone make this make sense to me.
Honestly, only 2 folks get the blame here. One is Ben Johnson, right? The OC. If you have 2 tries to get 1 yard, right? If you've been going forward on 4th down, you've been getting it, right? You got to pound the rock on 3rd and try to get 1. Even if you got to give it to Reynolds. I trust Craig Reynolds to go out and get 1 yard with that O-line against the way they ran the ball all day. Even if it's not DeAndre, give Craig the ball. Give him a chance to get 1 yard. I know the other guys have been putting in work, but you only need 1 yard. Just 10 yards at a time is what you're thinking about here. Eating clock, 10 yards at a time, truthfully. And then Jared's getting the play call. We know that. It's 3rd and 1. He's the vet. He's got to be able to audible into a run and make that final decision and say, listen, I know what we got to do. I know what the priorities are here. He's got to know the scenario, know what they've been doing successfully, and know what the Vikings have not been able to do the entire game, which was stop the run. They could not at all the entire game. Audible to a draw, audible to a run, get 1 yard, and keep moving the chains. That's the priority. The deep pass wasn't warranted. It just wasn't. It was not warranted in that spot. We're not a deep passing team anyway. Like we have not been the entire year. We're midfield attack. Like just did not make any sense. They outsmarted themselves. That's what it was. They outsmarted themselves.
It's so funny. We've had big plays from runs, jet sweeps, drags, and quick slants.
Exactly.
And if you look at it for that play, when you rewind it and play it 50 times and you're like, how could this play have worked? It could have. He almost caught it. He absolutely did. He had great coverage and he had very little real estate on that sideline. But you look on what they were thinking. We get this first down. He breaks out. This game's over. Yes. Very true. 110% correct. But not then.
Even if you give the ball to Amon-Ra there, he gets a yard. I'm fairly confident. If you jet sweep it to him, he's going to fight for a yard. You just need one.
We're a fall forward team. Every player is. Yeah. Except that one third down or fourth down conversion that like we threw across field to Goff to Hawk and he was short anyway. That was probably a one-off this season. Everything else has looked very good in terms of falling forward, coming down with your body and getting that extra yard and again, a little grit and muscle. So that was my number one piece that started this collapse, right? You turn it over, right? Punt it. And then Amani, massive penalty, absolute massive penalty. At that point, I think we chalked up about 60 penalty yards on that next drive for the Vikings. And then chip. Madison gets into the end zone for 6. So Cook's out. Doesn't even matter. They're sort of just, they ran over us, right? So now it's 24-21, right? So now we're just going to walk through this because we just need to. And I want a little explosion here. So 7:45, we get the ball, right? We convert a 3rd and 8 to St. Brown. Again, Mr. Reliable, right? And then 3rd and 6, we get 5 on the next drive. 4th and 1 on the 30. We go for it and fail. Now, Andrew, maybe because Matt just took the last one, this was my next questionable play. So if you rewatch that play, I thought it was a little odd. There was do you remember which play I'm talking about? The 4th and 1 stuff.
The thing is though, like we just said, we had 2 plays on the last drive to get 1 yard. We pass it and we don't get it, whatever. And now we try to run the ball and we don't get it. So it is what it is.
No, but look, change the dynamics here. It's 5 minutes left. The ball's on the 30.
No. I mean, I understand that.
That's the difference. That's the difference. I think
going back to what I was even saying before, like I think there had to be a disconnection on trust with the kicker. You know, if that's something that we're in field goal range, we could try to put a couple points up, which in that situation will matter so much. There had to be a reason that, like you said, he's hurt. Because otherwise there's no reason to kick a field goal there other than I don't think he's going to make it. There's something wrong with him and we don't have the faith. I understand why you would run the ball there more than passing, I guess, but it's frustrating that the way the course of the game was going, that this is just kind of how it played out.
And if you're ever going to run a bootleg, ever going to run a play action pass, that would have been the time to do it. Honestly, if you're going to run a bootleg and try to get a bootleg pass with the guys we have who can run the middle of the field, that would have been the time to do it. Didn't do it.
See, Andrew, so like if you don't bring out Seibert for that, you don't bring him out for the next play either when he shanked a 54-yarder.
I am not disagreeing with that in the slightest. Don't take it the wrong way.
This is why this makes no effing sense to me right now, that we failed on the first questionable play going deep, which gave them the ball back, right? And then we marched down the field. We didn't do a bad job eating up clock. We got it down to about 5 minutes, right? It happens. We didn't get first down on 3rd and 6. On the 30, a 47-yarder, right? That's the thing. If if Seibert didn't come out the next play or the next possession, I don't care about this play then. This screwed the game right here. This absolutely did. Because you went back 7 yards. They got it from the 37. Great field position to start. They actually were unable to score, though, after that. But it's just changed everything. And no one knew what was going on after that. We then get the ball back because that was the drive where Thielen just threw a fit because Amani definitely fouled him. But then we get the ball back. Vikings had 2 timeouts. So we get down the field, 2-minute warning, whatever. 4th and 4, right? He's out. Seibert back on the field. As of today, he's hurt. They hike the ball with 14 seconds on the play clock.
Abysmal. Just abysmal.
And again, this is why we have to talk about this quarter. Kirk marched down the field in 30 seconds and got that touchdown. So even if we had a minute compared to 110, whatever it was when it actually hit the ground, didn't matter. They scored with 42 seconds left. It was, or 30 seconds left, whatever. It was over. But who's commanding the time management? And if anything, you punt them. I like Fox. He can pin that ball within the 10-15. You make them go the longest distance possible with a minute to go.
Agreed.
When Kirk Cousins is throwing about 40% accuracy that game. That's what I can't get over this game. Like that, I was so mad last night that I was like, again, we always think we're smarter than these coaches, but what was the strategy there at the end of the day?
I would have been obviously in favor of punting. I think if you could pin them back there, even if you get a touchback, you start on the 20, you have a much better chance of holding them there than giving them the ball at almost midfield. I 100% agree with that.
Even if you take a delay a game there, you run the clock to 0, take a delay a game, and then move the ball back 5 yards and then punt.
Little punt plan.
Exactly. You need another extra 5 seconds right there when you kick the ball off. Yeah, I agree. Drew, especially, you're right. Even if you get it at the 20.
It's better than being, a play away from being in field goal range or, a big play away from a touchdown. So,
Especially,
no, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. No, it's just frustrating as hell.
Especially when the linebackers are playing so well. Like Anzalone balling his ass off. They were playing, they played a solid game. You got to try to make Thielen beat you essentially at that point. Or Osborne, right? Because Jefferson wasn't getting anything, right?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't at all. And that's, and then again, Osborne gets that touchdown, wide open, whatever, didn't even get to really break that play down. But set up to fail. 40 seconds left. Goff actually made a beautiful pass to Reynolds. But again, now just go back to the last 2 drives. If we, again, what's done is done. We hit a field goal instead of going for 4th and 1 because Seibert clearly played again. That's a field goal position game now with 20 plus seconds left on the 50. You pull off a 12-yard pass, you can try a prayer for 50 yards after that. We took ourselves out of a field goal tying situation or winning situation. And that's what irks me so much for those last 2 possessions before the final one. So
Jack Fox is a Pro Bowler. If you're ever going to punt, and not to say that punting, I mean, special teams are important, but Pro Bowl punter, you tell him, hey, listen, just dead that ball inside the 10. There's very few punters I can point to in the NFL that I think can get out there and actually do that.
Yeah, he's done his job.
He's done a great job.
Yeah. So, some other things that stood out to me. Forgot what possession it was, but we threw an incomplete pass on 3rd down one drive when we needed them to burn a timeout. That, again, kills everything. Everything. So, But yeah, to sum it up, force the team to go the distance when they're down. Max the field out, as much spacing as possible. And if they beat us then, you can say that you did everything right except stop them at the end of the day. And you made the right coaching play. You made the right special teams play. Defense, unfortunately, just lost the battle. But you gave them a head start to victory.
I feel like this is the first game in a while that I feel like we beat ourselves. We didn't lose to the opponent.
We did.
And I feel like we haven't said that. I mean, it's only week 3, but even towards the end of last season, I feel like we were gaining that momentum. And if we lost, it was because we weren't as good as them. And this just feels like it's the sour taste of if we did something better on our own part, we get the win. And
Yeah.
it's just painful to swallow.
It's not an overreaction about our anger level right now. And that's what, like, I don't know, Lions Twitter was very split last night. People were like, you guys that are so pissed off, like, grow up. And like, you know, like this team's fine. I was like, that's true. But like, this is a division game that would have put us in first place through 3 weeks. We are last now. It's a division loss. There's tiebreakers involved. I do think we could have swept the Vikings this year, especially after seeing how they played their first 2 games before us. That's what sucks. Because again, we know how this shit goes. If we catch fire during that little like 6-game streak we have of like after Halloween, where we have a few wins there and we're a potential wild card team now, we're going to look back at this game. We're going to look back at it and it's going to say, yep.
It happens all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it happens to many teams.
Yeah.
Teams
A lot.
miss the playoffs by 1 game all the time.
A lot. Yeah. Especially a game you were dominating the first half.
So freaking so painful.
Listen, nothing we're not used to, pal.
No, I know it is, but it's just like, when is it going to end? When is it going to end?
Hopefully this is the straw that breaks the camel's back there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to learn from this. I'm sure that they're practicing harder than ever now. They're really breaking this film down, and you know, again, I got pissed at Campbell's 2 comments today in his press conference. Overall, overreact a little bit, but I think for the most part he owned it and he wore it fairly well. But you know, like, I didn't really love about like the comments about, you know, he didn't want to mess up the groove of the offense, which is why they didn't want to slow down the offense. So that's why they hiked the ball some plays with 16 seconds left on the play clock. I don't care. It's like an NBA. If you're up, or college basketball, NBA, you're up 10 with 2 minutes to go. You're passing the ball for 23 and a half seconds. You know, like, it doesn't matter. You have to burn that clock because people can come back from 10 points in 4 minutes. Snap the finger every single time. So anyway, on to week 4. Hopefully greener grass back in Detroit at Ford Fields. Would love to be there, but we won't be. So we'll be watching it from little Sunday ticket. Anyway, last 3 predictions of ours for last week for this game all failed. I had Shark for 5 grabs. I think he ended with 3. I think he had a decent game. Looked better. So
one of his better games for sure.
I think it was him. He had that one play. They sort of just threw a deep ball to him and he stopped running. You caught that too, Andrew. Weird.
Yeah, I saw that on a replay today when I was recapping the game. I don't know if it was him or Reynolds. I think it was Shark.
I think it was Shark.
I don't know if the ball was out of reach or not, but it's something that catches your eye when you think that maybe you could have had a deep ball touchdown.
Yeah. So then, Andrew, you had Swift and Jamal. You'd score. Started off hot. You looked good. Didn't follow through though, and then Khalif touchdown for Matt. So no dice. So
hey, we're seeing the trend though. If we get the predictions right, we win the game. So we got to start being better.
Khalif had a little grab. I saw that. He's gonna be special teams for the most part.
One little grab.
One little mini grab. So all right. Final things to just touch on. We went through all the questionable plays. We went through Goff's performance, especially where he just sort of sits through 3 games. Defense is, again, just a hot commodity right now of lineups, depth charts, concerns. Let's just go through some rookies right now. Hutch.
You want me to grade him?
I mean, he wasn't really a big name on Sunday, I'll say.
Quiet
Quiet.
day, very quiet day Sunday.
Zero tackles recorded too.
Yup. How many
I
pressures?
think
did
we
he
also
say?
saw who the Commanders really are this week when they just got spanked
Wow,
by Philly.
that team.
So maybe it's
Holy-
not really a reflection of how great we did last week. Maybe it's more of a reflection of how bad they are. But 3 sacks and a half for Hutch last week, I'll take that any day. But you got to do it against the better teams.
Trayvon Walker looked pretty good yesterday.
Oh, the Jags?
Sure did.
Yeah. Rodrigo ended second on the team in tackles for the day with 7. Hutch recorded nothing, so just something that caught my eye. I wasn't honestly paying too much attention on the line, but just watching the recap express, condensed game before, the pressures didn't seem too high. It didn't seem like he was bringing any, super high pressure to the table or swim moving around these tackles. So definitely something I want to hear more from, I guess, Campbell or just the coaching this week leading up to this next game. Because top pick. So yeah, I mean, you could say that the Commanders stat line for him was a little fluffed based on what's going on. So, I mean, I do hope that he continues to get better and hopefully he has another shining moment soon. Need him. And I think it will help once we get our big guys back, our big names back. So I think a totally different lineup on that D line once bye weekends and the pup guys come back. Should be big. So let's do a little stock report. Andrew, who's hot?
I mean, Jeff Okudah, we talked about him, but I'm loving what I'm seeing out of him. I think that year 3, we haven't seen a full season out of him yet, obviously, but there's not a thing in my mind that he can do better to make us convinced that he's the guy that we took with the number 3 overall pick. I don't think you're going to have a tougher test in a away game, divisional game against Justin Jefferson. And, he put him in a box. He had such an incredible game, just an incredible start to the season. And there's really nothing else that we can ask more of him. I know we had a little bit of help yesterday, but I mean, what can you really nitpick about his game so far? He's been tremendous.
Yeah, and keep in mind, stock report, just overall season with just continual gradual climbing up the ladder every single game too. I can't complain with Okudah. Any other guy that catches your eye so far?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I spoke on both these guys already, but Okudah and Jared Goff. Goff we're seeing a little bit more each week, as long as he's not digressing a little bit and reverting back to his old ways, turning the ball over, making stupid decisions. If he keeps trending in this direction, then, I think we're going to like where we're sitting at the end of the year.
He's our QB1 until free agency begins and whatever happens then.
We'll see.
Got a long
right?
season, and again, I think we're all happy with what he's done so far. So I really can't complain. So, Matt, I'll give you the option. You want a hot or not?
I could do either one. Surprise me.
Give me your third hot. Well, because Andrew used 2 guys, right? Third person. Third hottest lion.
The third hottest line. He's so hot right now. Honestly, Penei Sewell. I mean, I watch Penei Sewell play, and the guy quietly kind of holds his own, and he does his job. He's not a boastful guy. He's just a solid anchor for that line. And even Frank Ragnar, when he plays, another quiet assassin out there. Frank came back this Sunday, and Frank looked really good at center. So, gold star for Penei, gold star for Frank. Jonah Jackson, when he's out there, looks good. Taylor Decker, I've never really been high on Taylor Decker, but for me, it's Penei Sewell. And, yeah.
He's a beast.
Yeah, and then we talked about kickers, special teams. We talked about this in an earlier pod. Talked about during camp, how I like Riley Patterson more than I like Seibert. We cut Riley Patterson. He had a great weekend for the Jags, and here we are with Seibert. So there's your negative.
There's your not.
He's the
Seibert.
not so Seibert fan base over here. Listen,
Yeah.
a good young kicker is hard to come by. We both can agree on that. A solid, I wouldn't say good, I would say solid. Right? And we can both agree with a head nod that Riley was very solid at the end of last year.
He was absolutely
Trustworthy,
solid.
Yeah.
Trustworthy,
Trustworthy from
don't you think,
mid-range,
Eric?
right. Exactly.
And the bar was so low last year because we were so damn bad. But I mean,
Yes.
he was making plays. He made plays, and right now, yes, I'm not going to say that we lost because of Seibert, but I mean, he definitely has a weighing reason as to maybe why we did it.
It didn't help.
I would, yeah, it didn't help. Not going to fully blame him. Andrew, who's your decline stock report? Like who's dropping, as low as the economy right now?
For me, I really don't know how to feel about TJ Hawkinson. He's been here, this is year 4 for him. I was looking this morning at contracts given to a lot of free agent tight ends or extensions. And you have guys like obviously Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, George Kittle, guys that are either already in or looking at the $15 million range per year or more. And the guys below him on that 12-year, give or take, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. And I feel like Hawkinson is a better player than some of those guys like Jonnu Smith, whatever. But is it worth that $12, $13, $14 million price tag per year? And whether it's the way we're using him, maybe he's not the player that we thought he was 4 years ago, given it's a different regime that drafted him. I just don't know how I'm feeling about Hawkinson. I would love to keep him, but I think the price that he will come at is not going to be cheap. And I don't know where he's going to fall a year from now, 2 years from now. His stat lines have been fine, but definitely not a top 10 overall pick at most. If you get a few catches for 25 yards and a touchdown in today's NFL for a tight end, it's not crazy. It's not terrible. But when you look at the draft capital we spent on him, the expectations, I just every day, every week, I'm thinking, what is this guy's future? Is it with us? Is it not? Is he not playing well? Is it because we're using him wrong? I don't know. I want to see how.
So it's hard to say who's to blame.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like tight end is also like one of the hardest positions because you're a blocker, you're a receiver. You got to do so many different things, so you may not always be in the limelight and get the praise like the Gronkowski and Travis Kelce type of player. But yeah, no, I don't know where he's going to fall in the future with our team. I like the player, I like him a lot, but I don't know. I'm curious where he falls because he definitely hasn't probably raised any eyebrows or whatever you call it the last few games. So
his stock's declining fast, and just a quick, again, 3 games. Who cares? Tied for 67th of all tight ends in receptions at 10. Tied for 99th in total yards tight ends. I didn't even know there was 99 tight ends in the NFL.
Did you say 67? Did I get that number right?
67.
Are you looking at all pass catchers or just tight ends?
It's under the tight end row.
All right. That sucks to hear.
Well, unless ESPN football doesn't know how to do their rankings. I'm basing this off of. He technically does fall as. That just wouldn't make any sense.
Well, you sort that out. Another guy that I just honestly wish they would just cut.
Let me dig.
Wish they would just cut already and get him out of here is Michael Brockers. Michael Brockers is, to me, I don't see it. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, please correct me. I am more than happy to be corrected. Doesn't do a lot for me. Sorry.
But I think we look at him also as like the leader in the locker room and stuff like that. So I know that. I feel like in a Dan Campbell locker room, that probably means something. He came over from the Rams with Brad Holmes, so I feel like he's got a lot of connections to keep him at least through the season. But he's getting up there in age, no? Was he 32 years old, give or take?
Yeah,
So
I think he's older.
I
than
can't
that.
imagine he's staying probably too much longer.
Got a lot of young.
Yeah, 31. He'll be 32
Yeah.
in December.
Got a lot of young questionable issues with Pascal and Onzarike and Ali McNeil and Bugs. Like, just I wish one of those four would take their head and just honestly and just take the lead. Like, be the guy. One of those four guys would just step up and make one of those picks worthwhile. I could live with it.
We spent so much draft capital on the
You are so right.
defensive line,
Yeah,
and
man.
you wonder why. Like at this point, it's like, why have we done that when we're not seeing any of the results? But I feel like we got to see it sooner, or else we're going to be pretty upset. And what do we have? Five picks in the top 3 rounds the last 2 years go to the defensive line.
All right, so those rankings, sorry, he that's what I was going to say. I was like, there's
no way.
I'm sort of convincing myself that there were 100 plus tight ends in the NFL that are playing right now. Oh, interesting. There's actually 90 tight ends that have caught a pass this year. Believe it or not. This site's real. This site's accurate.
I can believe it.
So those stats fell into, I guess, people who have caught a pass. So I guess just scratch that. We'll take that out of the pod. Disaster. That's stupid. Why would ESPN label him and say, here's his rankings? Freaking
inferior website.
Crazy. So, all right, on to Sunday. Oh, well, let's just fly past injuries. Tracy Walker out for the year, torn Achilles. So devastating news. I think that's an easy return for week 1 next year. Don't even want to think about that because it's sucks. We just would have resigned him to a deal. And now he's gone. I saw some, let's bring on Landon Collins. I said no. I think we go after Kirby. Let's see what he's got. We drafted him. Time to step up. Where's Will Harris? Where's everyone else? Chase Lucas. Convert to safety.
Landon Collins, my God.
I know, but like,
I mean, I think this kind of feeds into what
Harris
we did
going back to
last year,
safety.
though, right? Like we had just guys on the practice squad stepping up every week in the secondary, like Jerry Jacobs, I think, right? So hopefully this is, I don't want to say it's a good thing, but hopefully we can, find the next guy, become an impact player for us. But man, this one sucks. Get him on the CUDA rehab for the Achilles. Get him back better than ever for week 1 next year if he could be back by then. But yeah, man, this one sucks. He's one of our best players on the defensive side of the ball, no questions. So yeah, this is gonna be hard to replace.
I didn't look like he tore it watching it, but
I'm gonna trust the doctors and not your analysis.
no, it's just like you see that play, you're like, yeah, he definitely fucked his ankle up. Like, but like football players are tough as nails, man. Like
it wasn't a very Kevin Durant Achilles pop where you
well,
you can see his Achilles shoot him into his calf.
Yeah, like Mac Jones, he's screaming coming off the field today, and they're like, he might play on Sunday. I'm like, what? Like, dude, full upper ankle sprain is just like totally shot, and he's gonna like Herbert played, got smacked by the Jaguars, but like freaking broke his ribs, and he's freaking playing football the next 6 days later. It's insane, man. You guys are nuts. So, all right, Seahawks Lions Sunday 1:00 game. Lions minus 260 on the money line. That
bold number. I think it's only because the public's expecting them to rebound. Because it's a rah Dan. We'll call this a rah Dan Campbell spot. We'll call this right. So they're minus 6 right now. Dan Campbell knows the coaching staff has a lot to do with what just transpired in Minnesota. They're taking a lot of heat, not so much the players. I get it. But this is a spot where I think the public is looking at the Lions and seeing a little bit of that, potential Dan Campbell rallying the troops around a bad loss where they should have won and taking it out on a mediocre team. So, and the Seahawks have been playing competitive, so 6 is a big number to cover, but I just hope the Lions can win and get the dub. I like it at 260.
Yeah, and I think one thing with the Seahawks, like if Jamal Adams is out for the year, and Justin Coleman, is he going to be out for the game? Is that what it is?
He's
Is that the
out right
line?
now.
Yeah, he's
That's
out
what it
right
is. So, I mean, our pass catchers right now still relatively healthy. Obviously, Swift probably gonna miss the game. But I'm looking at that as something that we need to take advantage of. You know, they traded so much for Jamal Adams. The Jets, in my opinion, fleeced the Seahawks for that trade. And he hasn't done too much. He's out for the year, obviously now. And they're a rebuilding team. They're banged up. They're hurting. So this needs to be a game where I think we, let Goff air it out a little bit. Let's ride and take advantage of that weak secondary. Hopefully St. Brown gets to his 10 catches, 150 yards, touchdown type scoring ways. I think that's going to be a big piece for us, though.
Yeah, I mean this is a game where the Seahawks offensive line, it's bottom 5, right? So I mean this is a game that hopefully our line, who hasn't showed much promise so far, can explode and maybe have another type Commanders stat line type game. Rack up the sacks, get a lot of tackles, bang up Gino a little bit, force a pick here and there. I think that'd be an absolute perfect day for that defense. Defense as well, like you just touched on, Andrew. They're banged up a little bit, right? Little gaps in their depth chart right now. I see Lions definitely targeting that as just an area of weakness, and hopefully we can put the points back up on the board. One stat I saw from Pride of Detroit earlier was, as a unit, the Seahawks have only scored, I'm quoting them, 47 points on the season, right? Which again is not crazy. I'm sure there's someone worse. Half the amount of points as Lions, just under half, because we got 95. They got 47. On defense, the Seahawks didn't force a 3-and-out the first 2 games of the year, and they finally got one yesterday in the second quarter. So safe to say, Jamal's going to have a day.
Yeah, you would think. I really want Craig Reynolds to have a good game on Sunday.
Oh, Craigie too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. For me, if I had to put the spotlight on one player that I'm going to be honing in on, it's going to be Craig Reynolds on Sunday. So,
sounds like a prediction for Matt.
Maybe.
So, yeah, no pup players for us yet. Swift is most likely out based on all the the news from today. Expect that elevator role for Williams and Craig. We do, as of now, have a healthy receiving core. Maybe this is the game Hawk can finally break out. That would be really nice to see. I mean, again, he did have a touchdown yesterday. But something definitely to keep an eye out. If we can really, target their weaknesses, this could be another, 25 plus point scoring performance. They're struggling to score. And then, this would be really nice to actually, keep an opponent's offense, under 20 points for once, because we're giving it up. So it's definitely a test that we need to see. All right, running right into predictions, and then we'll wrap up for the night. Andrew, what do we got for you? Give me a little score finale, and then a player prop.
For the score, I'm going Lions win 27-17. I think offense will slow a little bit without Swift there, with the assumption that he's out. And I don't think they're going to rely on Jamal as much as people might think. I feel like Matt said, they're going to try to get Reynolds in. If it's Justin Jackson, if it's St. Brown on the end arounds or whatever. I think they're going to just not score maybe as much as you would think. But I think the defense gets it done to a degree where maybe it's a touchdown or two. But I think we're going to keep the cushion, keep that lead like we were talking about. Because if we go back to a game like we had this weekend where the game's in our favor and then we lose it, we're going to be a lot of angry fans, after next week. So I think we keep the foot on the gas a little bit better next week, win by 10. My prediction is 3 sacks and a turnover on defense. I was going to go with the Craig Reynolds touchdown, but I think Matt took that from me. I'll give it to him. That's fine.
Just like a team stat to accumulate 3 sacks?
Yeah, no, I think we're going to get after the quarterback, make Gino try to make a play and force a turnover. I was going to say a score on defense, but I'll go 3 sacks and just a straight up turnover. I get a bonus point though if they get a pick 6 or a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
All right, Matty Fit.
Formerly known as MediFit. I'm gonna give you two predictions, and I'm gonna guarantee that one of them's gonna hit. First one, Malcolm Rodriguez is gonna get a sack on Sunday. I like that prediction. Breaking the pocket. I think Malcolm gets a sack on Sunday, and I think Craig Reynolds is gonna have greater than 55 rushing yards. So Craig Reynolds over 55 rushing yards, Malcolm with the sack. Lions win 24-19 is the final.
24-19.
5-point victory for the Lions.
Oh, so you're giving. Let me do my math real quick. You're giving Seahawks a shit ton of field goals.
I am.
Okay.
Or 2 touchdowns, a field goal, and a safety.
Okay.
How's that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm right there with Andrew. I think we do have a 10-point win. I'm going to say, I mean, it's going to be a 7-point or a 10-point win, in my opinion. I think it's like 30-20 or 27-20 Lions. I think we definitely get this dub, barring any health concerns for the rest of the week. I don't want to jinx things, so that's my superstitious side. All right. St. Brown's going for 2 scores.
Yikes.
He's got to make up for the missed week.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I love it.
Actually, hold on. Someone's getting 2 touchdowns. Someone's getting 2 touchdowns. That's my bet. That's a team stat.
It's going to be Chark.
Bring it. We need it. We need him in the end zone. 2 touchdowns for a player. I think Goff is going to find a best friend that day with these openings. Right. So exploit
You get
it.
a bonus point if it's St. Brown. Just like I get a bonus point if we score on a defensive touchdown.
I could take that.
Now
Now
Matt gets a bonus point if he gets both his right. So this is a 2 for 1 week.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go 3 for 3 and let's win the spread too. Last question for you guys. Now we have this is probably not an identical matchup compared to the Eagles in terms of wide receiving core, but you got Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett, so someone who's very quick, just like Devonta Smith, and then you have a specimen who is just a transformer, DK Metcalf, just like AJ Brown. So obviously they're going to be rotating sides. Okudah has been favoring one side of the field. Are we getting that? This was going to be my bet, but I didn't want to commit to it. I was thinking, oh, Metcalf like under 40 yards or something, but I don't want to jinx it. So, I mean, like, what type of day do you think Okudah has? Does he keep up, or is this just going to be a very difficult matchup based on the sizing mismatch?
It's going to be a problem, I think, just from
red zone.
Yeah,
I think red zone is going to be the problem. The open field, I think we can bring the pressure from our side to get some quick plays off, and it doesn't really let them expand the field. But the red zone, I'm worried.
I'm going to put a wide receiver on him in the end zone to play corner.
I don't even have
I'm
that.
honestly not too worried about it. I feel like Seattle, like they don't have Russell Wilson anymore, and I feel like you may assume that DK is going to have the same production as he did the last few years. I think we hold our own against him, whether he's guarding Lockett or DK, and I think we're gonna set the tone early, like we kind of did against the Commanders, and try to keep it that way as long as possible. I'm curious who he's going to guard. I would assume it's DK and try to shut him down. But yeah, let's see how it goes.
Sweet. That's a wrap for episode 25. Line up. Appreciate the listen. Follow us on Twitter, as I said before, Line Up Pod. Tune in and chime in on all the madness that's happening in the Lion Twitterverse. Never a dull moment over there. Big game this Sunday against the Seahawks.